So let's talk about document library toolbar and menu configuration options with SPFx and JSON. And I'm going to explain what that means in practice as we go through a few slides, live demo, and close up with some of the resources. My name is Vesa Juvonen, and let me show what we are talking. So first of all, document library, we are rolling out a new experience. This is, has been rolling out to customers starting from last year, late 2025, and now it's again rolling in 2026. So we are introducing a new change and experience within a document library. There was a blog post announcements, I think, in November in the SharePoint blog on this one, and it changes a bit about the behavior, and it also changes the look and feel a bit, and that might actually change some of the experiences from your side explicitly. For example, what are the buttons which are visible in the toolbar within that document library, and I'll come back on explaining that in a bit more detail. Now, how can we customize or configure or adjust that behavior within a toolbar? That's really the topic of today as we roll out this new experience. First of all, you can use SharePoint Framework. SharePoint Framework is the pro-code way of extending not only SharePoint, but also Microsoft Teams, and there's many, many options as well. But really classic example on SharePoint extensibility is that you are introducing new additional command bars and command actions, and a pro code way of doing this. So you're basically running code. What the code could do, it could pop up by for example, pop up a window, do additional things for the selected item or items. It could do whatever is needed within your code. The SPFx is a really pro code way of doing these things. So you can actually run, for example, Azure functions. You can do Copilot APIs. You can run AI analytics on the files, whatever is your business logic. But really, SPFx gives you the power of adding those UX hooks and then executing them. One thing to notice here with SPFx, you can actually do this in a central way. So you can take advantage of tenant-wide extensions. And what it means is that from a one centralized location, you can say every single document library within my tenant. So every single one of them, regardless how many document libraries there are, will have these additional buttons in place. And we're going to do a live demo on that one today and adjust those things a bit. But again, with SPFx and tenant-wide extensions, you can target every single document library or every single list, or based on a list type, you're able to actually target additional configuration options or additional actions directly within those experiences. Really, really cool. Now, with then JSON definitions, we do have also view formatting. This is something which you can configure in a view level within a document library or a list. And among other things, you are able to configure what kind of buttons are available within that list. So I'm going to show this one in practice in a second. But again, in this document library, we only have two buttons visible. So what we have done here is that we have applied a view formatting in JSON format, because that's a JSON formatting extensibility, to hide all of the additional buttons within a library. And that has left a one custom library button and a one out-of-the-box button within the toolbar. So all of the other buttons are hidden. And so you can do this kind of a level of a configuration within a document library or within the views in the document library with JSON definitions, one way of doing things. Now, there's no, however, a centralized option to do this. And what I mean with that one, or what we mean with that one, is that with SPFx, you can push comments to every single document library, but the view formatting in JSON is basically view by view list definition. So you can only configure those one by one. You cannot say every single view within the document library across my tenant in all of these site collections should be having only these buttons. There's no centralized configuration for that, at least for now. There might be in the future. Who knows if that is something, a feedback what we're getting or what the feature crew is getting. So let's have a look on this one in practice. So first of all, let me open up the document library. So I'll show you briefly, if you are not up to date on the experience, just an example site here. And let me go to a site contents or documents from the toolbar. And we are in the documents library. And you can see that this document library is using the new view of the document library. So the new and create and upload is in right side of the house. The toolbar is in here, and we can see additional buttons when I click that three dots. So that is the new internal code name. I think it's a generation 3 document libraries, but it is a significant change comparing to the previous version. So let's do some customizations with this. So first of all, what I've done here is a really simple SharePoint framework solution. And in that solution, I'm basically just using a baseline commandlet sample, but I've modified that a bit. So I've added a icon 64 base icons for the buttons, so we can actually more visually see them available when we integrate these to be available in the document library. It's a SPFx solution. I'm not going to deep dive what it is, how it's being built, but what I've done already in here is that I've packaged that solution, so I'm able to deploy that to my tenant. So let's actually do that, so we can see how this works in practice. Of course, I would be able to use SPFx toolkit or some other ways of doing this. I didn't need to mention that, or I can deploy that automatically. But in our case, we're going to do that manually. So I'm going to go to Manage Apps, which is my app management for all of the solutions within SPFx, built with SPFx in here. I'm going to take my solution, which is an SPPKG file, and I'm going to deploy that to the tenant. And this only obviously works if you are a tenant administrator or you have the sufficient permission to enable the solution, because otherwise it would be a security risk to be able to do this. So now it's asking for that solution, I'm going to enable this only in this site or within all of the sites, and we're going to enable that in every single site. And that means that it's immediately available across all of the sites. And because it's an SPFx solution, and in our case, we actually had an SPFx solution configuration in place, more importantly, we actually used the tenant-wide extension list, which whatever reason is using the classic way of doing things, but we can actually see that our SPFx solution with the component ID of that is available within a list type of 100. If you are a experienced SharePoint person, you remember that list type 100 is a custom list. So let's go and have a look on that. So let me go here. Let me go to a end user perspective. I will go to the lists. I will open up the time of request or event registration. Doesn't really matter. And we can actually see our command 2. And I think if we select one of these, we can actually see the command 1 and command 2. So the command 1 is only visible when whenever an item is being selected. Well, but in this case, we wanted actually that command to be available in the document library. So we did a kind of a typo here. Let's actually get that one fixed. But again, I can do that centrally as an administrator for the app. So I can actually come into this list and configure that these buttons are only available within a document library. So we're changing the list type to 101. Again, if you are a SharePoint person, you remember this by heart. If you're not, everything is documented, but 101 technically means a document library. So it's refreshing these components should be only available within document library. We would be able to also target based on a web template, but right now we're just saying every single document library within a tenant should be using this experience. I'm watching, by the way, clock. I will go 1 minute long today, but it's okay. So let's then go in here. Let me refresh. We can still see the document command 2 there, but let me actually go to now to the site contents, and then let me go to the documents. This will take a moment to refresh, but I think we should be able to see that. Oh, there it is already. There's the command 2, and it's already visible in here. And if I select an item, we should be able to see the second button available in here. But oh my God, those are hidden underneath that menu. That is not optimal. Can I actually get them visible directly in the toolbar and not by and above these things? And answer is yes, yes you can. Now, this is where it gets a bit tricky because we're combining view formatting as in JSON and then the SPFx solution. But what we can do, and I've done it already in the customized view, is that I'm able to say and control visibility of all of the buttons within this toolbar. So in this case, what we've done is that we've gone to the view formatting, and then we have defined in the JSON, let me zoom in a bit, so we actually are able to see this better, that most of these items are actually hidden true, and that hides those actions which I don't want end users to be able to click or accidentally start using. And then the important part also here is a relatively new thing. I'm able to target that SPFx component ID. So I'm able to basically say this command, which is coming, this command 2, which is coming from that SharePoint framework solution, unique ID, is not hidden and it should be positioned 0. And that means that it's actually first one in the toolbar as it's actually going there. Just on the documentation, all of these are the IDs, how to target individual buttons are actually documented here. And there's also a documentation on how do you build that unique grid of pinpointing to a specific and unique SPFx button, which has been deployed within a tenant level. But that's it for the quick demo. So let's actually get back in here. So the conclusion there is that you are able to combining SPFx and JSON, you're able to control what kind of buttons are visible. For first of all, with JSON, you're able to control what kind of buttons are visible in a view level. And you, within the view targeting, view formatting, you're able to also control the visibility of individual SharePoint framework components, as in the command set extensions, and you're able to change the order of those components as well within the document library. Here's the links if you are interested on checking those out.